In the 1800s, there was a horrific war that took place on the soils of America's citizens. This war was fought between the North and the South. It was called the Civil War. A lot of people died for what they believed in, good and bad. It was one of the worst wars ever waged on U.S. soil. The thing about movies is that we tend to forget about the things that we see, the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis in this world. We look at some stuff that are fun, good-hearted, gives you levity. Not everybody wants to be reminded of the coldness and the harshness of this world. Sometimes we want to come to a comic book movie just to see comic book themes, but still touch on some of the real world themes that the actors themselves have to deal with. Today we're going to go into a movie that touched on a lot of topics and fulfilled a lot of dreams that a lot of comic book boys like myself actually love seeing, and comic book girls. I don't want to forget y'all. So today we're going to be breaking down and we're going to go into Civil War. Captain America, Civil War. Civil War actually came out in 2016. Now this movie actually came out around a very difficult time. Why a difficult time? Well, a couple months prior to Civil War coming out, another movie came out from the DCEU, and that movie was called Batman vs. Superman, or BVS. That movie really did something to the comic book industry. It started a war, or infuriated a lot of people on both sides. Some people for Marvel, some people for DC, and it really wasn't pretty. For me, myself, I've seen the movie one time, and then that one time I was infuriated. I was mad. I went on message boards looking for people so I can see what they thought about the movie, and as we argued back and forth, most of them couldn't answer my questions and told me to pretty much get lost, which is cool. In my book, I won, but that's another day, that's another story. That was 2 years ago. Who cares? Now we're talking about Civil War. This movie begins in the 90s, where we see Bucky Barnes, or the Winter Soldier, going through his ritual to get programmed into his mission. This general is walking around and he's saying a bunch of words. One of those words is homecoming, which was a hint to Spider-Man Homecoming. We also see a couple of words that are said, freight cart. Don't really know what none of that stuff really means. They use the numbers 1, 9, and 17. I don't really know what the significance behind that, but you can always take that for a grain of salt. Now, after he said these words, he programmed Winter Soldier, and he wanted him to go out and get the Super Soldier Serum, which was being carried by Howard Stark. Now, Howard Stark is in this car. We see this happen. He punches him a couple of times, and he gets what he needs. He walks over, he gives it to the general. The general looks at it. He says, "Well done." He looks up, and we're into the movie. Now, we're in present time in Lagos, a city in Africa. Now, the team is out there. We got Captain America, we got Falcon, we got Scarlet Witch, and we got Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow. Anyway, so they're there, and they're trying to figure out if they can catch this guy, Crossbones, played by Frank Grillo. Now, this guy was in Winter Soldier. We saw him at the very end when he's fighting Anthony Mackie, and Mackie gets out of the building, and they get him, they save him, he's burnt up and everything like that. That's who we're talking about. Now, this nice little chase goes on. They're trying to get this harmful substance. All this happens, and this fight ensues. Now, during this fight, he's talking to Frank. Frank is saying, "Yeah, your boy, your Bucky." He said he remembered you, and after that we scrambled his brains, and that kind of tripped him up, because during this whole time we saw at the end of Winter Soldier, they're still looking for Bucky. So the fact that he even mentions Bucky kind of throws him into a weird space. I mean, that's his friend for over 100 years, and now all of a sudden he finds out from the last movie that he's alive. Yeah, he's trying to find him so that he can ask him some questions and try to get him back to where he used to be. Now, during this entire conversation, Frank, or Crossbones, is opening up this little thing, and he is about to set himself kaboom. He has some bombs strapped on him. Now, before he actually does that, Scarlet Witch comes through and contains the blast. She tries to send it up into the air, but unfortunately, she loses control as she's learning her powers. She loses control, and the blast takes out a building of officials, African officials. Now, this is a rescue mission, and this is bad because the team was supposed to be covert, and instead, they caused another disaster. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Now, let's get to some lighter news. We see Iron Man. Iron Man is at MIT. He has this nice little holographic visual of his mind, of his mother, himself as a young man, and his father, and how the relationship between him and his father was always rocky. He talks about that in Iron Man 2. Now, we see him with his mother for the first time. We see how his mother was trying to keep the peace between the two of them. So, of course, mother is always going to have a soft spot in the heart of any boy. So that's what we see. Now, during this time, he's giving the speech to the students of MIT, and the name Pepper Potts come across the screen, and he freezes up because obviously there's some tension. There's a breakup. It's unfortunate. Let's move on. I don't care. Anyway, now he's in the back room and everything like that. He's waiting for this elevator, and then we see, which is kind of weird, but we see this character. We see an older woman as a character. She was actually in Luke Cage as well, but we're not going to talk about that. She was actually there. She's talking to him, and she gives him a picture of her son. Her son died in Sokovia. So her son was in Sokovia, and he died during the entire time they were trying to save Sokovia from Ultron. Very unfortunate. The sins of the team is catching up to them. So now the guilt trip is laid heavy on Iron Man. Now during this time, cleanup is happening, and we see the King T'Chaka, talking to the UN about what happened in Africa and the fact that some of the Wakandans were there along with the Africans. So he's talking about it. He's saying the expense of victory for the innocent is no victory at all. Dropping jewels on them. Anyway, during this entire time, we're seeing the team kind of coming together, trying to figure things out, and they're kind of frazzled. They made a big mistake publicly. Now, let's skip over to the villain. The villain's name is Helmut Zemo. Now, he's having, he runs into a car and he's finding out certain things. Now remember, he mentions that Black Widow put all the secrets of Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. on the web. She exposed everybody. By doing that, Zemo was able to work out a plan that took him about 2 years to do. Now, the events of Age of Ultron was 2 years ago. Now, he had 2 years to orchestrate a plan and to orchestrate it to where if it happens the way he wants it to, the team will break apart. So he starts his first part of the plan by finding the guy, the general, who had the words to trigger the Winter Soldier. He finds the general, he breaks into the general's home, well, kind of knocks on the door, tricks him, and gets in there. Breaks in there, he breaks down some walls, he finds the book. And then he hangs the man upside down, pours the water into a sink. As it's filling up, his nose is right at the level of the water. He's going to die a horrible, gruesome death. Slow death. That's horrible. Anyway, he gets what he needs and he's off. Now, we get back to the team. The team is right there. They're kind of shaking up and everything like that. Then all of a sudden, Tony Stark shows up, but he's not alone. He's with General Ross. Now, we saw General Ross in Incredible Hulk back all the way in 2008. We see him now as an ambassador. He is retired now, and now he is serving the team a big book called the Sokovia Accords. Nations around the world are coming together and they are saying, Avengers, we can stop avenging. Obviously, what you're doing is doing more harm than good. You need to cut what you're doing. You need to stop this mess, and we're going to regulate you as a government issued team. So wherever we send you, you go. And if something is happening and we don't send you, you do not go. It'll be against the law. That is the premise of this debate. Now, one team is saying, Iron Man is saying, we need to be held accountable for what we've done. We need to be held accountable for what we're doing. All of a sudden, he has changed from the Iron Man we saw from the first Iron Man. That Iron Man was anti-government, radical. I'll do things my way. I don't want nobody to regulate me. Now, after everything that he has done from Ultron, from the Avengers, and now with Sokovia, and that young boy sitting there on his heart, now he wants to be regulated in order for us the team not to do anything else. Now Captain America is seeing things from a totally different perspective. Captain America is saying, if we go ahead and allow the government to control us, just as the government was supposed to control S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D. was really organized by Hydra, and I saw everything firsthand. I don't want the government to tell us where to go or what to do, because people have agendas. And if people have agendas, those agendas are going to change. And if those agendas begin to change, and they start to target certain areas, and they send us to take care of something in a certain area that has no business being taken care of, then that is going to be nothing but problems. Clearly, you see the two ideologies going head to head. You didn't need to have something to trigger it. Something was already there. We saw that from the first Avengers movie when they were about to go head to head. Tony Stark and Captain America. They was about to go head to head on the helicarrier. And then again, we see it also with Age of Ultron when Cap ripped the piece of wood in two and said, whenever someone tries to prematurely stop a war, innocent people die every time. We see that ideologies bumping heads constantly, and now it's coming to a head. During this time, the entire team is debating it now. Everybody's going head to head, and then Captain gets a message that Agent Carter has died. The one person that he had in his life, the one person that has always been there for him in a way. Since he's been recovered and brought back, is now dead. Now during this time, he's at the funeral and he sees another a young lady comes up that he saw in Winter Soldier, Agent 13. Now she steps up and everything like that, and she's saying, well, Peggy Carter, who I call Aunt Carter. So that was her aunt, niece. There you have it. So this whole thing is going down and people are signing the accords. Other members of the team are not signing the accords. Now, during this time, they skip over to the actual treaty agreement and the actual signing. You see the Wakandan king, T'Chaka, getting ready to talk. Now, during this time, we first meet Black Panther. We meet him for the first time, T'Challa. Now, he's talking to Black Widow and everything like that, and he talks to his father. He says, Baba, and his father says, Nya. And that kind of relationship you see right there, the love that he has for his father. Now, his father is talking and something is going on outside. A bomb is triggered, an explosion happens. His father is dead on impact. He's an older man. He didn't have, he probably didn't have his Black Panther guards up because of the fact he was supposed to be there on a peaceful treaty. And remember, Wakanda is supposed to be hidden, so he couldn't just be the Black Panther just like that. T'Challa tries to save his father. He was unsuccessful. His father dies. Very sad, very tragic. Now, we get to outside. T'Challa's pissed. He puts on the ring. He says, I'm not my father. And don't worry, Miss Romanoff, I will kill him myself. At this time, they've already announced and they've already put out there that we're looking for the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, because it looks like Bucky Barnes was the one who set off the explosion. Now, we get all the way to lip sync. I think it was lip sync. Yeah, lip sync. Now, we see Bucky Barnes in lip sync. He was nowhere close to where the events were taking place. Now, he's looking around, he's looking at the news, he's seeing that, all right, they're coming after him, he needs to hide again. Captain America gets the information from Agent 13. He goes out there and he's out there with Falcon. He confronts Bucky, he's talking to Bucky, he's saying, yo Buck, people are coming to get you. He said, that's cool, I gotta get out of here, I'm not gonna kill nobody. And then this whole fight scene breaks out in an apartment on the stairs. I'm not even gonna talk about it, I'm just gonna show you parts of it.
Ausgebrochen. Er geht am östlichen Treppenschacht.
Come on, man. Told you. Now, during this scene, we finally seen Black Panther in the garbs. He's ready to rock and roll, and a fight breaks out. Now, chases are going to happen as well. I'm not going to break this chase down for you, just going to show you parts of it. amazing. Do you see that? They are so enhanced and so powerful that they are running faster than cars are driving. Insane. Now, we get to the part where everybody stopped, all the commotion has stopped, War Machine comes through, you know, he has his guns up and everything like that. Black Panther takes the mask off, reveals himself as T'Challa, the new king of Wakanda. And he says, Your Majesty. Everybody shows him respect. Now we cut over and we see Vision trying to cook for Scarlet Witch. A lot of stuff is happening, a lot of stuff is being discussed. And it's revealed that he's actually keeping her in the house for her own good, and she doesn't like that, but he wants to protect her from the world because the world is not going to accept her right now after the deaths of those people. Now they're on their way to this facility, and in their custody is the Winter Soldier. Now during this entire back and forth and everything like that, it's very clear that Captain America has chose his side along with his partner Falcon, and it's very clear that Iron Man chose his side. They go back and forth again, and during this entire time the interrogation is supposed to take place with the doctor, but instead it is Zemo. Now Zemo was able to find out who the doctor was that was supposed to interrogate people for this facility. He was able to take that doctor out. Now by taking out that doctor, he was able to put on prosthetics to make himself perceived to look like this doctor. He was able to get that close to Bucky in order to do one thing: to say the words. Now before he's able to do that, he triggers off this pulse. Now he has everything on schedule. Now everything is on schedule. He's looking like he's kind of controlling everything from this clock. And once everything goes down, he says those words, and after he says those words, he triggers the Winter Soldier. He tells that Winter Soldier to do whatever he told it to do. Now all this stuff is happening. The Winter Soldier breaks out, and then there's a fight between Winter Soldier and Black Panther. Again, just T'Challa, and T'Challa is the man. The man knows the stuff. So this whole thing happens. Everybody gets out. During this time, Bucky gets into this helicopter. Man, when I tell you the guns, man, I got some guns, but man, the guns that are on Steven Rogers, wow. He held a helicopter in place. Helicopter goes down. They take Bucky. Now, remember I talked about this on Ant-Man. At the end of Ant-Man, in the after credit scene, we actually see them all in a bunker somewhere, and they're talking. Now, we're right here at that scene. Now, the talk is happening. He's saying, man, I can't believe what Hydra did. Hydra still got the words in me. If he even says the words, I trigger. But this is basically what I got from him. He wanted to know what happened in '91 when I first got the stuff from Howard Stark. He wanted to know all about that. He wanted to know what that space was, because it's revealed then that Bucky Barnes wasn't the only Winter Soldier. In fact, there were 6 other Winter Soldiers, the Elite Kill Squad. Now, they were already dangerous on their own, but once they got the serum injected into them, they became overpowered super soldiers, and they became dangerous. They can destroy countries, take down governments in a matter of hours. That is dangerous, highly dangerous, and it looks like that Zemo is going there to get these people, wake them up from their cryo sleep, trigger them, and send them into the world. So, of course, Captain America has all the reason he needs to go out there and try to stop him. Now, Iron Man doesn't know any of this. Iron Man's job now is to take down Captain America because it looks like he broke his friend out of prison. Remember, they don't even see the doctor, really. They don't see the doctor. So they can only assume that that's what Captain Rogers did. So now, they get to this scene, they're at the airport. Well, before they get there, I love this part of the movie. They're actually talking to everybody and getting their teams together. Now, during this time, Captain talks to Anthony Mackie. Mackie saying, yo, I might know somebody. He's referring to Ant-Man. Now, during this time, Iron Man is talking to Black Widow and says, my assets downstairs, where's yours? He smiles, and then you see the word Queens. Man, once I saw that, I got so excited because now we're finally going to see the web crawler in the MCU. We see this young boy walking around and everything like that. He chilling, he cooling and everything like that. And then he's talking and boom, we see him talking with Iron Man. We're going to skip a little bit of this because, I mean, it's really good, it's really funny, it is very impromptu, it's really cool. But we're going to skip all that. We get all to that and we get to this airport scene. The airport scene, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I don't care who wants to debate me. You can do that right there in the comments below. This particular scene is single-handedly the greatest comic book scene of all time. I'm talking about from the very first time we saw Christopher Reeves flying across our screens till now. This is the single-handedly greatest comic book scene of all time. This scene was perfect. Perfect. Now, everything about this scene, the beats was great, the interaction was great, even the talking was great. There was this one scene where you see Spider-Man. Spider-Man is chasing after Winter Soldier and Falcon. He jumps through, catches Winter Soldier's fist. He says, "You have a metal arm? That is so cool, dude. Nobody's ever been able to do that, and he did that with ease. This is a kid." The scene was amazing. While I'm talking, I hope you're seeing the scene because the scene was just that great. I can't show the entire scene because if I do that, man, that's going to take up half of this video. We got to hurry up because we're almost done. So, after this scene goes down, Captain America, Bucky, they get into the Quinjet and they get out of there. Now, during this time, it's clear that there is a lot of contention between the team. Those who are on the side of Cap is now placed into this prison. Everybody else goes their separate ways. It is what it is. Now, we're getting closer to the end. Zemo finally gets to this area and he gets in and he sees each of the Winter Soldiers that were all quiet and all asleep. The one particular soldier, which looks to be the most powerful back in the flashbacks, we see him first. Now, during this time, Captain America is flying to this location. Iron Man is now getting the information from Victoria, the replacement for Jarvis. He's now getting this information. Now, before we get there was one scene at the end of this airplane scene that was really, really hard to watch. Rhodey was on his way to try to get that Quinjet. Now, as Vision was trying to get Falcon, who was right behind Rhodes, Falcon brings his wings down, tumbles down, and then the blast hits Rhodes in the chest. Rhodes hits the ground and he is crippled. You know, a lot of people say, yo, it would have been more impactful if he died. I kind of agree with that point. That would have been very impactful. But to be honest with you, just the simple fact that he's crippled is more than enough reason for anybody to fight with a bloodlust that Iron Man has now. So let's get back to where we were. Iron Man is now seeing everything and he's seeing that everything is starting to unravel because now Zemo wants them to know what's been happening. They show that he killed the doctor. It shows that he was the one who had the prosthetics because he left all that stuff in the hotel room. He laid all that stuff out because he wanted them to know that it was him who did it the entire time. Now, once he got to the Quinjet and he had to talk to Anthony Mackie in order for him to tell him exactly what was going on because of the fact Anthony Mackie was there the whole time, he finally gets over. He gets there. They give him to a truce. They step in together. Now, as they're stepping in together, you see all of the Winter Soldiers with bullet wounds. Now, this is an Easter egg, and I'm sticking to this Easter egg. One of the pods were open, not the one that Winter Soldier was originally in. The other pod of the other guy was open. He was gone. I believe that Zemo let that one guy go. Now, you see the three guys in there. You see Zemo behind a bulletproof glass. He says, "I'm glad that you guys all got here. I'm so glad that you're here because now I can show you exactly what I wanted to show you." So he puts on the tape. He shows the tape of what we saw in the beginning of the movie. Winter Soldier and Howard Stark and his mother. I forget her name. I hope her name's not Martha. No, her name's not Martha. Anyway. I think it was Mary. Anyway, now, during this scene, we see Winter Soldier killing Howard Stark. Howard Stark was reportedly killed in a car accident. That's the story, and that's the story that they were given. But remember, Hydra was infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. around this time. So that's what S.H.I.E.L.D. did. And they even talked about that in Winter Soldier. When things didn't go the way that Hydra wanted to, accidents were done. History was rewritten. And it was all because of the Winter Soldier. Now, during this time, Captain America is seeing this. Tony Stark is seeing this for the first time, and he sees now that it was Bucky who killed his parents. Instantly, his bloodlust that he had for his friend Rhodes is now at 100, because now he sees the man who killed his parents, and now he wants to come after that man. And then he talks to Captain America. He asks, "Did you know?" He said, "Man, I didn't know it was him." He said, "Yo, don't BS me. Did you know?" I said, "Yes." why he didn't say anything. He didn't want to hurt him. But Iron Man is already upset. Fight happens. And I love in the airport scene, Mackie says, "Get out of here, Cap. This isn't a real fight." This was a real fight. All that pent up rage. Captain America was protecting his friend. Friend that he had ever since he was a child. Protecting him. He understands that it wasn't him who killed him. It was Hydra over. And because of the blind rage that Iron Man had, he killed my mother. He killed my father. I can deal with that. He killed my father. That's something that's not. I don't care if he was right. He was brainwashed as what. He can't be wrong. So, that's the only thing. Goes happen. Start fighting. He will just walk away. During this time, we also see when he's going to climb over to meet with them. Black Panther is right behind his tail. Black Panther is there. Now, during this time, there's a message that Zemo is constantly watching and constantly listening to. At first, I thought it was real time, but it was in fact a recording. His family is already dead. Now, when Black Panther comes in, he's looking at him and he's saying, my family is dead. They were in the rubble. And it took 2 days for me to find them. He said, in the Avengers, they went home. They destroyed Sokovia. And they just went home. They didn't help with anything. He wasn't there to help the family. Just bounced. Zemo had a legit reason to do what he did because he lost everything. So for him, and he even mentioned it, he said, more powerful men has tried to defeat the Avengers, and all of them have failed. But if I can get them to fight from within, that's dead. That team is dead. That's exactly what he did. Based on all the ideologies, based on all the things that were going on the outside, there was something that was fueling these two men, and that was their pride and ideology. And to make it even worse, Tony wanted to kill Bucky. And Cap didn't want that to happen. So they went head to head and they fought. At the end of it, Bucky lost an arm, Iron Man lost an arm. And he made sure that it was solidified. Captain America made sure it was solidified. Because at the end, when he said, that shield doesn't belong to you, it belongs to my father, Captain America lost his country and his shield. He left it. That's where we left that scene. Now, of course, at the end, we have our patented Stan Lee cameo with FedEx. Tony Stank. That was stupid. At the end of the movie, Stan Lee drops off a package. The package came from Captain America. Basically saying, listen, Tony, we have our ups and downs. I know we were fighting, but we still boys. If you need my help, I'll come and help you. But understand, I'm going to get my peoples out of prison. And at the end of the movie, that's exactly what we saw. We get his peoples out of prison. So, it was a nice fitting end to the movie. Nice fitting end to the entire saga. The top 3, they're all finished. Well, we still got one to do. Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. Those 2 trilogies are in the books. Man, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie was great. Everything about this movie was great. We saw from the beginning into the end of what a friendship will go through. How a team coming together is now a team divided and broken apart. Clearly this team is going to come back together because Infinity War, but to know that this team fought and was divided so bad says a lot. The end credit scenes though. We get to the end credit scene and we see that one part where Bucky Barnes in Wakanda, and we see Black Panther helping him out, T'Challa. He's saying, listen, your friend, my father were both part of this game, and my father died, but that doesn't mean I can't help your friend. So we start to see some of the seeds planted on what Wakanda is all about and what they can do. And I love how he says to Cap, if they know that he's here, they'll come for him. And then he says, let them try. And you look out and you see this Black Panther. To think that was 2 years ago. I saw it this weekend. Crazy. The last end credit scene, we see Spider-Man sitting there fidgeting with the toy that Tony Stark left with him. He touches it and we see this hologram in the sky, and that's something else from the comics. We see this hologram in the sky, and something is blinking on it, and we're gonna get right into the next movie. Was it the next movie? It wasn't the next, but we're gonna get into Spider-Man Homecoming. We see that right then and there. So, once again, this was the Infinity Watch. This is your boy Sans, and this was Civil War. Civil War was an eye jerker, and man, was it a pleaser to the comic book community. I mean, the movie gave me everything. It was like the Avengers with an adrenaline shot. It was that great. I love the movie. If you haven't seen this movie already, it's been 2 years. You shouldn't be watching this if you haven't seen the movie. Because I'm not going to put the spoiler stuff up. I'm not doing that. It's too late. I've already spoiled most of the movie for you. But it was a nice little breakdown. And I hope you understand and you realize just why Captain America's Civil War is justified. Once again, it's your boy Sams. Peace out.